woefully ill-prepared for this because we were up very late last night getting that competition launched that Peter talked about, I hope, this morning. So you all better bloody put in an entry or we'll be wasting our time. Okay. Actually, to that, we're quite excited about that competition because it's the first time. We had a lot of hurdles to get through to launch it. One of them was to run an open single-stage competition through the government. It hasn't been done before, as far as we could tell. We were asked to find examples with all sorts of probity concerns around payment of prizes. And the really important thing about this competition is that we're going to use the entries to test the draft medium density design guide and inform a final iteration of it. And I think that that's, for us, it's almost a test case of this idea of design-based planning or design-led planning, as the Minister has coined it. So it's a sort of, a relatively simple and straightforward, couple of all-nighters only way of testing new methodology around design-led planning for government agencies. So when I got this job, which has, I think, probably the best title of any job in New South Wales, somebody said to me, because everybody laughs at my job title, they said, you'll need to get 2 rubber stamps. And one says excellent, and the other one says not excellent. And I still haven't got them, but I think that is kind of in a way, there's a sort of real truth in that. So New South Wales Government has had a range of design excellence strategies in place now for around 10 years, following the lead of the city, in fact. So there's the Apartment Design Guide, SEP 65, obviously incredibly significant piece of legislation. We've now got the draft MDDG, Medium Density Design Guide. There's the Director General's Design Excellence Guidelines that many of you would have to work with, and that's really just based on competitions, and that's the framework, if you like, for competitions that take place in other jurisdictions to New South Wales than the City of Sydney. And they're similar but not quite the same. There are distinct differences. And then there's also design excellence statements that occur throughout local government LEPs in various different guises. And they're usually now put into priority precincts and into the requirements for key buildings and developments. So in a way, there's a hell of a lot going on, but it's very much, I suppose, a kind of scattergun approach. And really, the policy has been the first attempt to provide a vision. What is it that we're trying to do with all these different strategies? There's clearly been an understanding for some time that there's a need, but not really a sense of a kind of coherent vision for what it is. What are we trying to do? And that's really outlined in the principles. And to that, what are key definitions? What is design excellence? What's good design? Constantly being asked to sort of explain that. And make that conversation about, is design a subjective thing or is it something that can be objectively assessed? Justification, why bother? Why would you bother doing this? It just makes it more complicated. And also proposes a kind of potential methodology. So it's an umbrella that has the potential, we hope, to start to provide consistency and a framework for all these different strategies that are already in place and systems that are already in place, and to also, through what we're hoping through the engagement strategy, which will kick off in the next couple of weeks around the policy, really find where are things working well. And so this piece of research is extremely important for us. What are examples that we can use? And to the point made earlier by John around the sort of explanation of how well the processes have worked. Where can we see, and I think the city's really key to this, design excellence processes actually leading to results that are quantifiable. So it's a really big challenge, and I guess at the heart of the matter for us, it falls into 2 categories. One is about consistency. So generally, I think it would be fair to say that the states, at a state level, the approach to design excellence, or just design as a process, good design as an intention, is very inconsistent. In some in some areas it gets looked at in a great deal of detail, in others it just falls by the wayside altogether. And then also integration. So what we're seeing a lot at the moment on the side of consistency, and there's a team up the back here from the department who do social projects assessments, is that oftentimes projects that get flipped to state significant development status actually undergo a less rigorous design process in terms of the review of that design or the assessment of that design than they would do if they went through the local government process of their area. And actually that's a sort of key challenge for us. So one of the things we'll be establishing to start to address that next year is a state design review panel, and that will look at all state significant development projects that come through, be they social or commercial. So that begins to elevate the process there. I think there's a general sense at the moment that it's really great to pump up the value of your project so you can get into state significant development and not have to go through the local government. And that might have some sort of might be understandable in some ways in terms of dealing with local politics, but actually it shouldn't mean that. Actually what that means is that you don't have to go through a rigorous design assessment process. So those sorts of things. And then in terms of integration, especially in the stage that the city's going through, or the greater city is going through at the moment with big infrastructure projects and major upzonings, definition of priority precincts where neighbourhoods are going through rapid change, we feel that there's a massive role for bringing design into that process early. And in that way, the way we think of design is not so much that you've got planning here and design there, or developer here and design there, and they're somehow, at loggerheads with each other, but more that design is the methodology and the way of thinking that can help bring all of those different people into the room and have a conversation and come to an agreed position that will be good as a result of that. So as an architect, we all know, all of us who've practiced as architects, that that's really a massive part of your role, is that you bring all these people into the room. They're the client, they're the users, they're the structural engineers, the services engineers, the et cetera, and it's your role to provide that vision and that structure and that methodology that brings all of those things together and coordinates them. So what are the strategies or the implementation processes that we can bring to bear at a state level to support that kind of activity at a state level and also at a local government level? And so the policy will be the first of a series of documents that provide guidelines or manuals, if you like, for how to, what's the best practice, if you like, for rezoning, for a new precinct, for doing an infrastructure project, and so on and so forth. I think I might have talked enough, so I'll let the local governments tell me I'm wrong. Thanks very much.